Survived one day. It's now day 2, and
yes, halfway through the second day too. So we survived a day and a half of this.
That's right.
And we're back.
And we survived the Amy party, which was off the hook.
It was really fun.
That was
I think
good.
that was a great addition to the conference.
Yeah.
I had so much fun. The tequila flights were great. The tacos, everything.
Yeah, it was definitely nice. And you know, the only thing better than this year's Amy party is going to be next year's Amy party in Long Beach.
Imagine.
It's going to be unbelievable. We're talking about things that we may have to get a chairperson to approve. That scale of party next year.
Well, good thing we have her here.
Oh, look at that. There she is. Oh, my gosh.
Hello,
So,
Robert. Hi, Danielle.
Hi.
Welcome, incoming
Thank you.
chair, Janet Proust.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, we're so excited to work with you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with everyone at Amy. You know, we know each other really well because of interactions on the board, but I'm excited to be in this role, exciting to work with Pamela as the new CEO and president, and I'm excited that we have 2 women leaders in this organization.
That's right.
Which has been, I think I'm the 3rd woman chair ever.
That's awesome.
In the 60 plus years of Amy. So
that'd be about 30 chairs, right? Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So we got to work on that ratio.
We do.
You're moving us in the right direction.
We do.
You're moving us.
Yes,
How long have you been on the board?
I believe I've been on the board 8 years.
Okay. And how long involved with Amy?
Over 25. You know, sometimes it gets over 25. It's sort of hard to keep
There's
track
no counting
of that.
after that.
Yeah, it's like your birthday.
Stops.
It's like your birthday. I'm around, you know. You kind of
25 forever.
Yeah.
So how did you first get involved with Amy?
So I work with 3M Healthcare, and I have for over 30 years. So it wasn't my first job out of school, and we can talk a little bit about that if you're interested. But when I came to Amy, it was almost sort of by accident. We didn't have a lot of participants back in those days on various committees. We did have, I think from my company, we had 2 representatives that one came very often, one only part-time, and what ended up happening is he said to me, walked into my office one day and said, Janet, you know, there's this organization that develops standards called Amy, and I thought, who's Amy, of course?
Right, who's
right?
Amy? I'll introduce you.
Yeah. And he said, you should go. And that was the level of the direction that I got. So I went, and what I found...
Now you should go. So you went to a
conference? You should go to Amy Standards meeting.
Amy
Standards meeting. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear about that. So you should go. And I did, and I've been to just about every one since that time.
Wow, you've been
sterilization area.
Addiction,
2 things. I mean, initially it was because for the standards were affecting, our products and how those products were used. But what I found is that I really enjoyed that environment and that atmosphere where you work collaboratively with people across the industry. I really hadn't participated in something like that before. I had been in professional medical societies, lots of those kinds of activities, but not a consensus-based process where you are working with people that are your competitors in the marketplace, with the regulators, with the experts and academia. It was just a really unique environment, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay, so you intrigued me. You said, well, and this wasn't my first job, if you want to talk about that. So what was your career path? You've obviously been quite successful as a woman in the field and as a person, independent of that. But what was your path to, how did you become our 3rd female chair?
Well, prior to joining 3M, which, I look at, that's been my career, right? You don't spend 30 plus years at a company. I've had a variety of different roles, which I'm extremely thankful for. One of the things that 3M offers people is it's not necessarily tied to your background of what your job opportunities are.
Okay.
And so I could share some of that probably at another time. I'm not sure we have enough
we'll do
time
an hour
for all
together.
of that. But prior to that, I worked in a clinical setting, right? My background is clinical science. Although when I graduated, I didn't have a job opportunity. I couldn't find a job. So I went to work with a group of ophthalmologists, and that became my specialty area. So I assisted in surgery. I was a contact lens specialist.
I did not have known you a long time.
Yeah,
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
that's really neat.
You did.
And I conducted the investigator side of clinical research.
Okay.
So when I moved back to Minnesota, and I had heard of this company 3M in Minnesota, everybody knows 3M. So I wrote them a very general letter saying basically you need me, and it turns out that they did, because they had a vision care division at that point in time where they sold intraocular lenses and a new sophisticated contact lens, and I was a contact lens expert, so that's what I thought there might be something there, and they hired me.
Wow.
Wow.
Good for you taking the initiative
Yeah.
to write a letter and,
Yeah.
you know,
I found
selling
I
yourself.
found the person who was part of leading that business area. Didn't go through HR, but found that person, wrote a letter, and it was, meant to be, obviously.
And sometimes that's what it takes
As I
sometimes.
said, that's so inspirational because there's so many people out there that say they can't find work, but I
Yeah.
think just finding the right person. That's how I got
Finding
my
it.
first internship in college. I just started emailing biomed companies around where I grew up, and someone was like, "Hey, yeah, we need an intern,"
We
and that's
need
how I
somebody.
got a job. You
Yeah,
know, so.
yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes you just sit on these HR lists and you're just one of a
Yeah.
number,
I think the key takeaway with it is don't give up, right?
Yes.
If you set your sight on something, take every avenue you possibly
Yes.
can to be able to find that
That's
and
right.
accomplish that.
That's right.
And that's exactly, it worked for me, and it's not necessarily probably recommended to bypass HR anymore.
I don't know.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but it's really the point about, set your
Yeah.
goal and go after it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a guarantee of success, but not going after
Is
what you
a
need
guarantee
aggressively
of
is a guarantee of failure.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So fast forward, tell us your title now and role now. We know what
So
that
I
is,
am a
but-
global standards director for our 3M healthcare business, focused primarily on what 3M is structured as a medical solutions division. And honestly, my role is to teach people across all of our business areas and all our product areas, which are quite diverse for 3M, of what standards are, why they're important, and how you participate.
Yeah.
And then on the clinical guideline aspect of it, I work with all of our groups to basically see how we can provide assistance and help to professional medical organizations that are establishing their own clinical practice guidelines. So simple, just like that.
Just like that, is
Yeah.
that all?
In some areas we've been very active with it, but as most medical device manufacturers, right, there's consolidation happening in the industry, and so some business areas may have a lot of strength in that area, some business areas not quite so much. So I love it. I mean, it really taps into my skill sets and my interests, and I think I'm really fortunate at this point in my career to be able to have that type of job where basically I'm sharing and kind of teaching what I've learned over these 30 years with others, and I enjoy that aspect of it. I like being a mentor. I like teaching people things, and so it fits
Well,
right
let's
in
do
my
it
You
right
can
now.
tell
Yeah.
you are so passionate. Just like your face is lit. I don't know if everyone people just listening, but your
Yeah.
face is so lit up as you're
Yeah.
telling us about it. So
Yeah,
it's just
it's a
really
good
nice
thing.
to see.
It's a good
So,
thing.
so let's teach some people. So one of the things we've talked about, all of us collectively, and including Pamela, is that we really need more HTM professionals at the table in standards development. So say a bit about that. Why does it matter? What is it we're asking of them when we say you need to get involved with standards development? What would you share on that?
So a lot of my experience has been around sterilization standards for AAMI. It is the largest kind of group of standards development activities with AAMI, and it's quite complex, right? We represent the U.S. and some technical committees at an international level, but much of what I participated in was establishing standards for sterile processing in healthcare facilities. Now, in some specialties, those are really clinical practice guidelines. AAMI has a unique position in that we have been able to establish some really critical standards, basically to help people understand what you should do to do
Right,
things
best
correctly
practices,
and
yeah.
make sure that we're keeping the patient safe. And so we have that same opportunity in the HTM area. Those standards on the sterilization healthcare have become the Bible, honestly. ST 79, steam sterilization, sterility assurance, comprehensive guide for that is the Bible. It's used not only in the U.S. but referred to throughout the world for those types of practices, and I believe we have the same opportunity around HTM, relating to equipment, relating to interoperability, relating to how do you teach people, how do they train people, all of those things are just there. So it's a really comprehensive sort of soup to nuts document. For HTM, I think there's, the next task is really to be able to define where are those gaps and what's really needed. And then you establish this multi-stakeholder process, committees, and work through with a collaborative approach and the best minds in the business and
Right.
best minds in this area to develop something that is really a guide on how to do things correctly, all focused on doing the right thing that for the patient, right? So
Right.
similar in those areas of working in the environment of care within a healthcare facility, even though we don't touch the patient, what we do is still critically important to keep
Absolutely.
the patient safe, and it fits right in that same wheelhouse.
So, I mean, I know you agree because we've talked about it so
Yes.
much. So there's that need for HTM standards that affect HTM, but there's also a need for HTM professionals to participate as end users
Absolutely.
in other groups that are not just HTM focused.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So you're considering that perspective, right? Because
Mhm.
that perspective is going to be important in so many other areas.
Yeah. And right now we have the EQ committee for specific to a
Yep.
medical equipment.
Yep.
And I think our biggest challenge is getting enough people engaged from the HTM side. And we could work on so many more HTM standards if we had more people, because right now we can only focus on one at a time given the size of the committee. So you can really make a difference in the field by getting involved, as you said, Janet. It's just a
Yeah.
great way to give back and create documents that can be adopted worldwide
Yeah.
and domestically.
Well, think of it this way. If you have the opportunity to participate in setting the standards for your work area or your professional area with the best minds, the most highest level of expertise that exists, wouldn't you want to participate?
Right. I want
Right?
to do it my way.
Well, exactly.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you end up being part of the group that sets practices,
Right.
that sets the standard, that sets how we do things, that then
The future.
regulators and compliance, inspectors come in and say, are you doing it this way? And you're part of that. It's
Right.
extremely gratifying.
We have a lot of HTM pros that say, how do I advance my career? How do I
And
demonstrate
that's
thought
how you do
leadership?
it.
This is it.
That is
This is
absolutely
the
how
way
you
to
do it. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
fantastic. So if people want to get involved in this from the HTM side, they reach out to you, Danielle, they contact Amy. What's the path?
Yeah, they can reach out to me, or they can reach out to standards@amy.org. They'll have to fill out a form. I believe they need to be a member to participate as well. But there's just so much opportunity, and it's really a way to benchmark, set a standard going forward, and just being a thought leader in the field. And I just can't stress enough that we really need more people involved.
Yeah, that represent the diversity of the field, right?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of different types of
Areas.
people's roles, jobs, facilities, right, that you work with. And so having a nice representation of all of that is really important, again, so that you're working to develop documents that will work for that
Right.
very
Yes.
diverse group.
And you
So-
get that through, like you said, a diverse
Yeah.
perspective. Someone may be speaking on behalf of a standard from the way things are at their hospital, but maybe that's not
Yes,
the way it works
that's-
at your hospital. And,
Yeah.
if you're not there to voice that, there may be something in a standard that maybe doesn't work. So that's why it's so important to have
Exactly.
that eclectic group there.
It is true, and it's not. And I'll just clarify one thing: participating in standards isn't to get your way.
Yes, no.
For
I'm
your
sorry,
facility,
that was me.
Come
That
to a
was me.
consensus.
It is to come to a consensus and agreement that will work across the
Right.
board,
Yes.
right? And so it might not be as specific in some cases as you think it should be, but that doesn't prevent you at all in your facility from going
Right.
beyond what's in those standards. So yeah, lots of opportunity. It's also one of the benefits of being an AMI member.
It
right?
is,
That
yes.
you can participate
If you're not
in
doing that, you're not
standards.
taking full
Yeah.
advantage.
Advantage of your membership.
Yeah.
No, not at
That's
all.
right. That's
So
right.
my goal as chair, honestly, we've talked about this, is that we want to establish a really robust, strong standards program for HTM practices.
Fantastic.
That's really the goal, and I think
Yes.
my experience in standards development. I lead I also am co-chair for the Sterilization Standards Committee, which is the oversight group of all of our sterilization standards committees. And we can create something like that for HTM and have a variety of different topic areas under that to be able to drive forth new standards and new documents.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to make it
Absolutely.
happen.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
we
we
are. We
appreciate
are
your
gonna make it
support of
happen.
it all as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank
very
you.
good.
I think that was a little piece of education. You love doing it, but we'll have to come back to this again and again and again because
Yeah,
there's so much more to
absolutely.
it. And so we'll get you on. We'll figure out that next live stream, that next education offering, whatever it might be.
That would be
Maybe
great.
even a webinar for our HTM webinar series too.
There you go.
know, to
Maybe
kind
do
of
a
talk about the importance
webinar,
of
yeah.
standards.
I've done one or two.
Yeah.
You have. Well, thanks for joining
right,
us.
very
We
good.
really
Yes, thank you so
appreciate
much,
it.
Janet. We
I'm sorry we
appreciate
didn't
you
get you any
dropping
water.
by.
You
They can
didn't
hear me
get
on the
any
speakers
water.
out there,
There
right?
It
Is it
yeah,
coming in
they're
now?
walking
Oh, there
I
it
don't have to
all
turn
is.
around.
now.
Look
Enough
at that.
for
Good.
days,
Oh my
actually.
Thank
gosh,
you.
we could survive a drought here with the amount of water that just came in.
Thank you, MJ. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks.
All right,
Sure.
take it with you. Now you
I
got to
will
now you got
take
to
it.
walk and drink. Thank you,
All right,
Janet.
good.
We really
All right.
appreciate it. We're looking
Appreciate
forward to
the
working with you.
invitation. Yeah.
Congratulations on being the incoming
We're
chair.
so excited
I
for
appreciate
you.
that, yeah. It's
All right,
great.
awesome. All right,
All right.
you
Next
have to
up,
go
I gotta
and
go,
give the
and next
headphones
up.
up to the next person.
All right.
And
Thanks.
the next person is we have GE Healthcare with us again.
Nice.
Right. Thank you so much, Janet. So let's get.
We
Here
love
he
our friends
comes.
at GE Healthcare.
Come on in. Get in the hot seat over there.
Yes.
Love it. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Good.
Good. Fantastic.
Can we get you a water? We have.
And this session is sponsored by GE
We
Healthcare
have
as well.
16 waters now.
You guys have been going
Cher,
through
how
it.
are you? Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure.
And-
How are you guys? It's great to see you in person, isn't it great?
That's right. We're
Yes,
not on a
it's
Zoom
nice to
call.
finally meet in person, Cher.
I know.
It's-
We're
it's
not on a
fantastic.
Zoom call. We're not
I
virtual.
know,
We're
I
actually
know.
in real. This
But
is
yet we're
great.
still wearing headphones to talk to each other.
Yeah. Why is that?
That's well, that's a thing. That's what
Yes.
you, yeah. That's,
All right,
that's what you
good.
have to do. So, well, thanks
Fantastic.
for joining us. So, tell folks who you are.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here at
Absolutely.
Amy this year. And again, like I said, fantastic to be in person and also to talk to some folks who weren't able to make it here in person as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, my name is Cher, and I lead our global cyber commercialization organization at G Healthcare. And essentially, what that is we at G Healthcare, we've been following kind of what's happening in the industry from a cyber threat perspective for so many of our customers across the globe. So what I do is really my organization builds and delivers products and services to help hospitals deal with this ever-growing threat. So that's what we do.
Okay.
And I think
yeah.
that's so interesting, right? Because I know, as we were talking before, back in 2017, cybersecurity in healthcare wasn't really a huge conversation.
Yeah.
Everyone was focused on banks and
You're
other
so
types
right.
of industries. And now, as I understand, healthcare is the #1 targeted industry for cyber concerns, right? Is that correct?
You're spot on. It's just that's a great point because a few years ago, the finance industry was the most targeted. But what's really changed the game is, as more and more devices have become smarter devices, network devices, connected devices, bad actors realized very quickly that we're spending all this effort and going after maybe a credit card. And banks started becoming more mature as well, the financial system, right? And they
Well,
used to
they're
say, you get a text message and they say, hey, this is a improper activity. They cancel your
They're
card, you get another one.
They're incredibly hard.
Yeah.
Yes,
And they have
yes.
less
Right.
entry points.
And they
don't
have less interest.
Yes.
Exactly. And the other
Yeah.
thing is, it's just where the game has changed is having your credit card stolen is an inconvenience now. But when it comes to patient safety, that's a whole different game. And
more
that's
than an
what we're facing
inconvenience.
with in healthcare, right? And that's why the stakes are so much higher. And you're right. I mean, at Amy, probably a few years ago, we weren't talking about cybersecurity. Now it's one of the key verticals
one
and
of
the
our
pillars
top,
this
yeah.
year, right?
Yeah, it's been a topic of nonstop
Yeah,
conversation.
I think the
it's
magnitude
a
is-
reflection of what's happening.
And
in
does
the
it ever
industry.
end? I mean, we'll get better and better, but the threat evolves. I mean, this is not going to be a topic for the next year, the next decade.
I
Or-
think that's a great point. This is going nowhere the next decade. It is here to stay for
Okay.
a while. Unfortunately, this is the reality we live in. Because if you just look at the number of hospitals, beds, and institutions in the healthcare domain across the globe, this is going to take a long time before we get to the level of maturity that you see from the financial industry.
Okay, and it is about that. It's about the level of maturity
Yeah.
across the board because any gap will be found.
Absolutely. Like
Exploited.
just think about this, right? I mean, today, from reported statistics, you have over almost 14 billion cost to the healthcare industry from a cyber perspective.
Wow.
Today, I think it's almost over 93% of health delivery organizations have reported some sort of a data breach or some sort of a security breach in the last couple of years. Over 93%.
Oh my gosh, that is
That's
so
amazing.
high.
Yeah.
That's
And I don't
almost
know what it would be
everyone.
I don't know what it'd be in other sectors. I have no idea. But
It-
that's
no-
an insane number.
No one
Yes.
compares to kind of the year-over-year increase in activity that's happening for us in healthcare. And talking about the maturity level and getting to a position where you can have that kind of proactive measure in cyber hygiene. Think about this. The average time it takes today to spot a breach is over 200 days.
Really? So-
Imagine that. In a hospital, it takes over, on average, 200 days to even find out that all this stuff is going through your network to your devices, infiltration is happening. And that's why our industry is, unfortunately, it's a very reactive in nature, and that's the challenge.
So that's almost a year when you say 200 days.
That's quite a bit.
That's a
Two-thirds of
really
one right
long,
there.
Two-thirds of one.
long time.
Right.
So talk to us about that a little more. So when the 200 days that it's taken to discover this, what is a cyber attacker or a hacker doing with that information? Because you hear about the ransomware attacks where like they're locked out, but for 200 days they're not locked out. So kind
Exactly.
of let's talk about
Now comes
what's
the
going on.
other element of that data, which is it takes almost 250 days on average once you spot an infiltration to coming all the way to the point where you can actually solve for it. So imagine that life cycle, right? So to your question, there are so many things that are happening, unfortunately, in this space where you have ransomware attacks, you have infiltration to find data that could be sold on the dark web. Ransomware is really scary because there's also, unintended consequences. Like, for example, the really unfortunate story of what happened in Germany, where there was a patient who was in critical condition in an ambulance heading to a hospital, and the ambulance was notified that the hospital just has basically shut down because of a
down, yeah.
ransomware attack. So the ICU is inoperable and they have to be deviated to another site. And unfortunately, the patient was not able to make
I
that
remember
journey
that
there,
story,
right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Passed
these
away.
kind of things are very real. They're not science fiction. They're happening,
Right.
and then there is all this cost of, hey, let us get in, let us kind of seize this data or show the hospital that we can maneuver around with the devices and then say pay us X in Bitcoin or some sort
Right,
of
it's a-
currency
Yeah, yeah.
and they
ransom,
exit,
yeah.
right? And so there's a multitude of things that are happening and they're all pretty scary, dark, dangerous, and unfortunate, but that's just some of the consequences of all the technological advancement that has come in the healthcare
Yeah.
space as well.
Well, even just from a reputation standpoint, right? You don't want to be that hospital that gets hacked and on the news because that
Get
also,
right up on
you
that
know,
mic, Danielle. You've
Oh,
drifted
sorry. I
away.
said
or
even
pull
from
it
a
to you.
reputation standpoint, you don't want to be that hospital because you're all over the news with negative media as well.
No, you don't want to be. And then the reputation piece, absolutely. But even now, from a liability perspective, right? I mean, some of this is now falling under obviously critical infrastructure. In some parts of the world, there's legal elements involved where leadership can be held accountable as well. So there's a lot happening here in making sure that folks are being proactive and trying to take measures to combat this.
Well, we've had a really upbeat show up to this point.
Yeah,
And now
my-
it's like,
My apologies.
Yes.
but
Oh,
what-
you
what-
really-
it's cybersecurity. What do you want me to
So
say?
what on earth are folks like you at GE and others
Yes.
doing to get a hold of this monster?
Yeah, so look, it's not all gloom and doom.
Give me some good news.
Yes.
Let me share with you. Look,
Yeah.
it's this is what it is. Like I said, think about that data point about the time it takes to even find out that there's something happening, right? So what the big issue is that you cannot be reactive in this space. So for example, at GE Healthcare, what we've done is we have a service called Sky. This is a managed service around medical device and IoT device cybersecurity. And what we do is we want to be proactive.
Okay.
So we are monitoring with people who have medical device expertise as well as cybersecurity expertise. And these folks are monitoring the hospitals 24/7, 365 days a year. So when we spot something nefarious happening at 3 a.m. Eastern on a Saturday, the team is right there. So the goal is that you got to be proactive. So what we do with Sky is, like I said, it's a managed service. It really takes into account people, process, and technology, because you can't just have technology and it'll solve for it, because in the medical device space it doesn't work that way.
Right.
There's just so many different
Complexity.
devices,
Yeah.
complexity, some are older, some have different operating systems, etc. You can't take IT strategies and apply them on medical equipment, as
Well,
everybody
the
in the
answer's
show
always
knows,
just turn the
right?
network off,
Yeah,
and
and,
you
and
can't do that.
And you can go back into the Stone Ages where you say
Right.
there's just not going to be any connectivity at all.
Right.
Yeah.
no.
So you really have to bring a level of technological advancement. You have to bring the right people, you have to bring the right processes, and it has to work together in a very holistic fashion to truly solve for this by being proactive and managing risk and improving cyber hygiene. And that's what we do with
I'm
with
smiling
Sky.
because she's getting waved at. She's very popular, you know that. So.
No, I thought they were waving at me. Is that
Maybe
not the
they
case?
were.
Oh,
Maybe they were.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what you
So
were
you're
saying.
you're constantly monitoring the network.
Yes.
And that's not just a technological solution. That's I
Right.
mean, you've literally you must
Right.
have a command center somewhere
do.
that with eyeballs on
Yeah, we have
screens
what's
and-
called a MedTech Security Operations Center.
Okay.
And that is unique in the industry because, like I said, these are folks who used to walk the halls of a hospital, work on devices,
Yeah.
and then they moved into the cybersecurity realm in that career. So they understand, because a lot of these tools, they don't have the ability to give you information on devices to the depth that you need. And you can't put them as an agent because it has all sorts of implications on a device as well.
Right.
And that's the gap that needs to be covered. So technology can maybe take you to the 30 yards, but the remaining
Right.
70
Yeah.
you got to cover somehow. And
Right.
that's where we come in. And with our, DNA being a medical device manufacturer, being one of the largest multi-vendor service providers, we know this space. And Sky is a multi-vendor solution. It's not just for G equipment, it's for anything and everything
Okay.
that's within a hospital across the enterprise, and that's what we do.
So
Yeah.
you do multi-vendor service, is what you're saying. So you can monitor any type. So you're agnostic as
We're
to what you
agnostic, absolutely.
can monitor.
Yeah, because if I'm a hospital biomed team or clinical engineering or a CIO, I don't want to just solve for one set of my equipment. I don't want to have to go to 10 different vendors and 15 different folks. I want to be able to solve for this holistically, and that's what we do for them.
Absolutely. So someone is always looking at it then.
You have eyes on glass, but not only do you have 24/7 surveillance, threat detection, but we then also do the vulnerability management, the
Yep.
risk assessment. What's higher risk? What should we validate and and basically go through the vulnerability management phase first? How do we solve for this? And then we also provide people on the ground. People who are part of my team who are go to the work at the hospital every day as an on-site extension of that MedTech SOC, and they're the quarterbacks on site working with clinical engineering, working with IT, making things happen, because clinical engineering teams, biomed teams,
can't
they're
just do
maxed
it all
out.
remotely.
Yeah,
There's
but they're
only so much
maxed
they can
out. They have
do,
so
yeah.
much on their plate, right? They have so much
mean-
going on, let alone managing cybersecurity
Watching a
on top of
network.
that, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, they're
Yeah.
coming in on weekends when the
Right.
CAT scan or MRI is down because they don't want to
Exactly.
divert patients,
Right,
So,
right,
so,
right.
So
and
we
I-
provide that support as well, because especially in this day and age where resourcing, training, retention is a challenge, we take all that away and we help our
And I
customers
assume
with
what
that.
you learn at one client, you can then apply in another. Because I assume they're hitting facilities, these attackers.
No, you're absolutely right,
uh,
and that's one of the benefits of the scale of GE Healthcare, because when we solve for a particular device at customer A, we proactively know this
Yeah.
device is
doing it at
available at
customer
customer
B.
B, we'll solve for it right away.
And I do have a question that's probably going to sound really nerdy, but I'm going to ask it.
Go ahead.
So obviously the word cloud has become really popular. So when you named your product, is Sky kind of like a spin-off of the cloud to be like kind of like tongue-in-cheek?
Yeah, no, it's
I thought it was Skynet. That's what I
yeah,
was worried
you
about.
were thinking back to Terminator 2 Judgment Day movie, but no, I mean that's a good question. But it was more about having an eye in the sky. So it was
Oh,
the concept
that's good
of,
too. There
see?
you go. See, look.
so-
Alan Parsons Project. Cue,
Now
cue the
everyone is-
music, please.
Now everyone's going to always remember the name of your product, though,
That's
because
right.
we
That was
talked
my
about
hope. I
it
was
this
like,
way.
yeah,
I
let
want to
him
sing
know.
so bad, but I'm not going to do it.
Oh, we don't wanna
I'm
hear
not
that,
gonna-
Robert.
That's a hard
Yeah,
song
we
to
don't.
sing.
we
That's
got
hard.
headphones on here.
Yeah,
so, I
that's
mean,
no
please
good.
don't do
Take
that.
your
Yeah.
headphones off.
Yeah.
All right, so you made me feel a little better.
Yeah,
Not
there you
utterly
go. No,
depressing.
there's look. That's what
What's
we're
the-
here to do. That's
yeah,
what we're here
what
to
does
help
the
with.
future look like? So, I mean, are you guys starting to experiment with AI or already using AI, ML to try and keep? Because one of the problems is there's a certain number of white hats and there's a whole lot of black hats.
Right.
I mean, the pace of the attacks and the complexity
Yeah.
of those attacks keeps going up. So is that is that not just for you guys, but I'm just curious about the
Yeah.
industry in
Look,
general. Is that what's coming, where we have AI protecting these networks? Or
There is AI
Speaking
today
of
as well.
Skynet.
Yeah, there is, but there's no Terminators coming.
Yeah.
But look, there's AI today as well. But
built in. Yeah.
But yeah, we use AI. A lot of IT providers out there have technology that have AI components as well, and that's good.
But you still need the human.
But you have, like, if you look at the majority of the install base, it's legacy equipment, right?
Yes.
And there might not be patches available. There might not be those solutions. What is AI going to do in that instance, right?
Yeah.
So the problem has to be solved with the right folks who have the knowledge, with strategies and projects to really go after it, right? And so AI is going to be in the mix, and I think there's going to be better technology in the future. But till we get to a point where you can truly be able to safely put technology on a network that can give you hard information on the device without doing a hard scan, there's some ways to go before that happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this goes back to the standards conversation we were just having with
Absolutely.
Janet. This is where we need folks from the HTM side, from the cyber side, the IT side, the device side coming together
course.
Yeah.
And
to get
it's-
us more quickly to that future you just described.
Yeah, I
Get
mean-
some of this legacy stuff out of
Yeah,
there.
I
and-
wish there was a true silver bullet everybody could strive towards. But I would say, at least in the foreseeable future, the key thing is going to be if all these different groups come together. Because that's one of the things we do with Sky as well. You got to get the different parts of the hospital coming together to tackle this, and that's very key.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the legacy devices, obviously, like, no two clinical environments are the same. And you think about, you have hospitals that are really well endowed and can afford all new equipment, and there's still going to be legacy devices there. But then you think of, like, a critical access hospital that is just struggling to survive, and they may still have equipment that's running on, like, Windows XP, and it's
Yeah, it's not supported.
Even
it's out
I
of
know
date.
how bad that is.
Yes.
That's bad.
That's tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really tough. That's
Yeah.
really tough. And then there's a whole piece of reconciling all of that data, right? You want to be
Yes.
able to have a CMMS or your main device inventory to have all the right information and keep it at a cyber hygiene level. It's not like a one-time thing, like a
Right.
physical inventory,
Right. It's
and you're
ongoing.
done.
Yeah.
You got to do that day in, day out. New devices come in, you got to manage that cyber hygiene. So those are all very critical things in this space.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm glad you guys are doing this.
Yes. Thanks for all you
must-
do.
It's a 24/7, 365. I'm glad to have
Never
people
stops,
like you
and
on
and
the
it's
front lines
constantly
of this.
changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just when you
Wow.
think you've gotten one threat down, there's some new
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
actor with some new
And bad
threat.
actors are coming up with new strategies.
Yes.
Like you were
Right,
saying
right.
earlier, they're evolving, they're getting better, they're finding new ways. So with us, we spend a lot of time in doing the R&D and figuring out, what's next, what's new, how do we combat it, how do we protect our customers from it. And then hospitals don't have to invest in all of that themselves
Right.
and feel alone in
Yeah.
how do we tackle this, right?
Like
That's what we do.
Focus
for them.
on clinical care.
Yes,
Patient
get
care.
back to what
they
they're
do
what
what
they're
they're
doing. Yeah,
they're
exactly.
focused on what they do best, which is
Right.
serve patients, take care of patients, and we help enable that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, you made me feel a little scared there for a minute, and then you made me feel a lot better.
Yeah, that was the whole
So we've
strategy.
been on an
Yes.
emotional journey
Yeah.
together. I feel
It's
like
been a
we
roller
bonded.
coaster here in the
No,
studio
we bonded.
today.
We had
It was great.
people
We got you
waving
water.
at us and everything.
I'm sure. I can't even imagine
Yeah,
what's going on
yeah.
behind
so
me.
it's just, it's great. It's all pandemonium outside. They
It
love this.
is.
So this is great.
Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you once again for sponsoring this live stream. You guys sponsored
Yes,
it.
we are
both
so
days, and-
appreciative, and we love our
Yeah.
friends at GE Healthcare. Thank you for all you do.
yeah,
Thank
no,
you for your
no,
support
thank
of
you for
Amy.
as well. This is a fantastic conference. We have long-standing partnership and history here, so
We're glad to have
looking
you here.
forward
We'll
to
see
the
you in Long
continued
Beach,
that.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well,
All
we'll do
right.
this again. We'll do it before then, but we'll do it again in Long Beach too.
Sounds good.
All
Pleasure.
right. Well,
Thank
thanks
you,
for coming in.
Cher.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Good
So we're
seeing you
giving you the
guys.
boot. You got to leave the headphones behind.
All right.
All right.
I'll let the other victim take this one on.
All right, MJ. Let's have our next special guest. I would say he needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce him anyway.
Yes.
Thank you so much, man. Be well. Thanks so much. All right. I think we have had you in like 19 different activities. You are working hard.
It's been fun.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. So Danielle, would you like to introduce our special guest?
Of course.
I don't think he needs the introduction.
I
but
don't
let's
think
do
he
it
does,
anyway.
but for people that are just listening and not looking, I think we need to introduce who he is. And we are so excited to have Mr. Herman McKenzie here, who is the Director of SIG Engineering from the Standards Interpretation Group at the Joint Commission.
Thank you for having me.
We're delighted to have you. So, and you participated in a panel yesterday with our new CEO, Pamela Aurora, and others, and I've gotten some fantastic feedback from that. I know you have as well, Danielle.
Yes, no, and we have another big keynote
Tomorrow.
coming tomorrow, Herman, right? You're going to be answering a lot of questions that people have submitted, taking live questions from the audience. I'll be on stage with you reading some of those questions. It should be a lot of fun.
I know, that's one of the things that I love to do. I hope that's one of the things that people pick up. I love to respond to their questions because it gives me an opportunity to teach and help guide people through the accreditation process.
And I feel like you're an engineer by trade, but I think you're an educator at heart because you're very, I think you do it so well and eloquently, and you're so helpful to the field.
Well, thank you.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know you were an engineer by training. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be in this position.
Sure. So I started off in healthcare. I had a family friend that was a BMET, and I was thinking, and he suggested, what should I do? And he suggested, why don't you try the biomed field? So I did. And so how did I come to the more administrative task? Well, I had some awesome bosses, directors, and managers that always pushed us to think past what your department does. Think past what your department does for the hospital, but look at how your field fits in with the whole industry, and look outside the walls of the hospital. And so one of the things, whenever we had a Joint Commission survey, they said, Herman, these are the standards, these are the requirements. Why don't you do the preparation for the Joint Commission survey? They're going to ask for policies, they're going to ask for processes, they're going to ask for documentation. Your job is to gather all this information for our department when we have a Joint Commission survey. So I did that early in my career. And also when I moved on to another hospital, they said, oh, you have familiarity with preparation for the Joint Commission. Why don't you we want you to become the chair of the Environmental Care Committee. Okay. And then I'd go to another hospital and said, oh, you've been the chair of the Environmental Committee somewhere else? Why don't you do it here? But anyway, it really boils down to, I really like to teach, and I get a kick out of it. Like I said, I love to walk people through and help them through the accreditation process, because I've been on the other side, and I know it can be the great unknown. It can be intimidating for some, and so I want to create that ease and know, look, you can get through this. You can definitely be successful. So anything that I can do to help move that along, that's what I try to do.
And Herman is so generous with his time. People email me all the time with questions for the Joint Commission. I email them to Herman. He always responds back very promptly. And, we do a segment called Ask Herman in BINT, and weekly we post it in our Amy chat rooms and through Amy Connect. And it's just such a nice benefit to offer our members. And we're just so appreciative of you and the Joint Commission for being so willing, to do that for us. Do we want to, and I was just thinking, while you're here, do we want to give them a little teaser for tomorrow? What are you going to,
Questions.
what are you going to talk about? RPTs
well, I'll tell you what. RPTs. So I'll tell you what. Last year when we did the virtual presentation, I don't know if you remember this, Danielle, but there were two questions towards the end. And one was someone was moving from a technician position to a manager position, and they asked for tips.
Yes.
And another question was someone was new to the field, and they wanted to ask for ideas or tips. So that's going to be the focus of what I'm talking about. So I've been in healthcare for over 30 years, right? I started at 9.
We just found out that once you get to 25 years in a field, you don't have to count anymore.
I know.
You say 25
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah. So, and actually, I was telling my wife, you know what? In terms of my career, I'm in the fourth quarter, right? And I need to give back. I need to do all I can. So, actually, I was pleased to get that question. So, I wanted to kind of chronicle some of the changes and the things that I've dealt with in my career, and to offer insight. So, in a way, I'm kind of talking to Herman 30 years ago. This is what you need to do or look out for, and hopefully, folks can pick up on some things, just how I've picked up on some things for the people that have been ahead of me.
That is so nice. And that's just like so heartwarming. Like I feel heartwarmed just sitting here next to you,
Well,
you know,
thank you,
hearing
thank you.
that. And
I don't even have to go through these things, but I want to go and just absorb this. I can maybe
know.
apply it to other things. Sounds like there's be some good career
It's
advice
very
in there,
endearing. It
in addition to
very
the
is.
specifics of the Joint Commission process.
And you know what's really interesting? So from working in the hospital too, and I'm sure Herman knows this, and I tell him this all the time, that you know, when the Joint Commission shows up at a hospital, everyone's stunned. Anxiety's at a high. No one wants to see the Joint Commission. When Herman walks
Well,
into
that's
the
not
conference,
nice.
everyone is, you know, it's like the happiest place on earth. It's
Okay,
almost like,
good,
you know,
good,
like,
yeah.
it's like you're saying, it's the one place everyone is happy to see the Joint Commission.
So I'm glad you feel that way. So, you know, for my whole career, I've done a lot of public speaking. I remember doing the electrical safety lectures or for orientations for many hospitals that I've been in. But years ago, actually in another arena, I was hearing someone speak, and he wasn't talking about necessarily a lighthearted subject, but I was just taken aback. I said, his approach is so conversational. And I thought it just makes it so easy for you to pick up what he's saying. So if you've ever heard me speak, many times I said, we're going to have a conversation about,
Right.
Yes.
compliance. And so this is what I also tell you. As with any good conversation, you feel comfortable to ask questions. And so that's the tone that I want to set. You know, we are surveyors, and ultimately, believe it or not, we want organizations to strive for excellence, and we want to help you get there. And if you're not there, well, let's talk about how we can get there. So that's really my goal, what I can do.
And I think you've said that, you've postured yourself very nicely, because I think people feel almost too comfortable asking you questions, you know? It's like everyone's coming out of the woodwork. And, you know, and I thought, you know, the fact that people were asking, you know, you tips about how to be a manager just really spoke to just how, you know, generous you are with your time, how open you are, you know, because it's like, it shows that, you know, they look up to you and they want to be like you. And I think, you know, you've done that just so well. But I'm going to move on to another question, because I think, you know, really understanding what the Standards Interpretation Group is. And I love how you explain the Joint Commission as being like the government body with the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, and how the Joint Commission is set up very similarly. And I know we don't have a lot of time, but could you kind of just quickly let the audience know, like, where you fall in that
Sure.
and how that works?
And this is, and this, I want to characterize this as this is my world within the Joint Commission. And so this is something that actually a couple of my colleagues, about 4 or 5 years ago, we started using this analogy to talk about our roles. And so I said it's almost like a triangle of the federal government. You have the legislative branch, you have the executive branch, you have the judicial branch. So let's start with the legislative branch. They make the laws. For us, those would be our standards and our elements of performance. And my role in that is that we have a department that publishes the new standards and elements of performance, but they look to me for the technical content. So they'll say, Herman, we have this new standard or element of performance. We want to make sure that what we put out is really consistent and is what NFPA 99 or NFPA 101 or 72 is actually saying about this subject. And so that's my role, to make sure that technically we are sound. We aren't going to do anything that's in contravention to what one of the codes say. That's my role in terms of the legislative branch. Then I have my colleagues who are the field directors, in which the surveyors report to. Those are the executive, right? So we've developed the laws, they will execute the laws, right? And so that would be law enforcement in the real world. So they come on site, right? They come to your healthcare facilities, and they are making sure that you are meeting the requirements of the standards and elements of performance. One of the roles that I have and my team has is that if there's a question on compliance, they will call into our central office to make sure that we get clarity. And by the way, I want to throw a shout out, all organizations can do this, can call in and ask for clarity on a standard or element performance.
Can call the Joint Commission directly.
Yes, you may.
right on the spot during their inspection,
You
right?
can call the Standards Interpretation Group. And so then we go to the third part, the judicial branch. And that's really where, the biggest hat that I wear. We are the adjudicators, as implied by the name, Standards Interpretation. So we have our standards, we have the codes, and my job is to know what the codes say and how that crosswalks to our standards and EPs. So outside, it can be outside of a survey event. You can submit a question. We do it for, Amy. Our customers submit those. We have, actually, our field staff submit questions to us and say, Herman, are we on the right track? Our standard says such and thus, we are interpreting it properly. And so that's kind of, in a nutshell, those are the kind of three main roles in my world at the Joint Commission. And then in addition, I do publishing, I contribute to articles, I'm part of the faculty when we do our teaching. So
You are a busy, busy man.
Yes.
That's all there's. We're so grateful for the time you spend with us here and for everything that you do. And you mentioned we can have folks reach out to Herman through the website, through amy.org. You're available directly. Your group is available directly when people call in. So there's lots of ways for folks that are listening to interact outside of this event. But the best way, come to the event. So we really appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you on stage tomorrow for both of you.
Yes,
I will be reading
session, Herman questions. It should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
It's fantastic. Thank you so much, Herman. We really appreciate you joining us, and we're going to give you the boot now.
All right,
it's always unceremonial.
All right, now I'm going back to my trailer. It was awesome.
Yes, for hair and makeup, right?
That's right. We'll see you in a little bit. Thank you so much. Okay. There's no graceful way to just move people along. I hate that. Absolutely hate that. All right, so I know we're way over. Do we still have time to... Guys, you going to come in and talk to us? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll stay here all day if I have to. Come on in. Come on in. Get your headphones on, settle in. Come on.
We got some good rock and music coming through.
So you're next to last. We've got a guest from Project Cure. Let's see. I can't see behind me. I'm sure she's out there. Is she out there, MJ? I'm sorry. We're coming. Thank you for... you have to go. All right, go.
I'll be right back.
Okay, go. All right, it's just me, guys, so this might be a little rough.
Oh, no doubt it's
she's I'm the mean one. She's the nice one. So.
Good cut, bad cut.
All right, so let me tell people who you are that have just joined us, but then I want you to introduce yourself. But I'm going to introduce you in a way you wouldn't introduce yourself. So you guys have built two of the. I've been in. Some people know, some people don't. I've been in and around training and education for many years, and organizational effectiveness, and have seen a lot of platforms come and go, seen a lot of theories come and go about how we should be training adults to do their work or supporting adults and doing their work, professionals and doing their work. And when I joined Amy, one of the things we wanted to do was expand the way that we were serving our customers and helping them, not only by delivering Amy education, but empowering them to provide education to their own staff. So we're doing a lot of custom development, things like that. So we started looking for platforms that would help us do that. And both of you have built platforms that I believe are game changers, industry changers, and best in breed. So you might not brag that much about yourself in your introduction, so I'm going to do it. So we've, for folks that are watching, we've sort of searched for these kinds of tools and found, as I said, best in breed, what we think is indispensable for training professionals. And we've created a partnership with both of you, so I'm going to say Amplifier and Ambify, and I'm going to have you guys arm wrestle at the end of this session, and one of you is going to have to put a vowel in front of your name so we can make that. No, you're not going to do that. But we partnered with you guys, and Amplifier, you've been with us a little bit longer, and we've been sharing your story and your platform with our clients, and they're loving it, and we've got a ton of adoptions. And James at Amplify, you guys are fairly new, but you are busy this weekend. People are loving what you do. So, all right, so that's my introduction. Now let's have you guys introduce yourself. So what is Amplifier, Dan? And who are you? Introduce yourself first.
Who am I? Hey, Robert, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Dan Morley. I'm with Amplifier. We've got a very innovative learning solution that really focuses around the brain science, how we learn, how we retain it, and a concept that you may not have heard about, conflictly held misinformation. That's information we make decisions on a day-to-day basis, but we're actually wrong. And across 3.8 billion learner interactions, we find that physicians, for example, 25% of what they make decisions on, they're confident and wrong. And that's what our learning platform is really designed to do.
The last segment scared me for a while with the cyber conversation. You guys heard that outside, but that's a stat worth repeating. So confidently held misinformation is information that I believe to be true, and I make decisions, clinical or otherwise, on. So health and life impacting.
Health and
in
life
all the work, even you guys have done a lot of work across healthcare. even with physicians, 25% of the time they say, this is the right thing to do, and I'm confident, which means I'm not going to go look it up. I'm not going to go to another source. I'm not going to validate that with a peer. I'm just going to act. 25% of the time they're wrong.
They're wrong. Yep. And,
That's a scary number.
and that wrong results in patient harm or patient death. And you know, as we've partnered with Amy for the last 3 years, we've done some really innovative learning solutions for some of the largest, foremost well-known companies in the country that have an international presence. So I'd like to say, hey, Robert, it's been a great 3-year journey.
It has been.
I
We're
can't
just getting
yeah,
started.
we're just getting started. I can't imagine what the next 3 years are. But yeah, we've done some very innovative stuff, and it's been a great pleasure to partner with you.
Yeah,
So thank
absolutely.
you.
Right back at you. So, new partner.
Yes, new partner.
So, James, to get right up on that mic so we can really hear you. So who are you, and what is Ambify?
So I'm James Sharp. I'm one of the co-founders of Ambify, and first of all, thank you for all you've done. You've blazed the trail for us, so we've got a little bit of a
Yeah.
path, which is wonderful. So our
Some of the weeds have been hacked
yeah,
back.
exactly. So Ambify actually started about 7 years ago in aviation. So we have thousands of pilots using this platform to safely fly private aircraft. So pre-flight, in-flight, emergency procedures. They create all these interactive, hands-free, voice-activated interactions. It's basically a virtual co-pilot. Kind of think of Siri for the cockpit. Well, about 5 years ago, physicians that were pilots said, listen, you really should pivot to healthcare. We need this in healthcare. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
5 years ago, we pivoted pretty hard, and we've been working on use cases from sterile processing, a lot of nursing and physician protocols and procedures and pathways. And with our partnership with Amy now, we're excited about the HTM space.
Absolutely.
That's
and
what,
more sterile processing.
and more sterile
I mean,
processing.
That's big for us.
just
so, yeah.
just walking your floor. By the way, this is fantastic. I've never been to this. This is
It's
great.
fun,
They
isn't
said
it?
this is like the small version. I'm like, okay, this is great. But just walking the floor, I was taking photos of these of some of the equipment, and the outreach has been fantastic.
Yeah,
They see it, and like you said,
Everybody, you guys are coming to this at a good time. Everybody's so excited to be back that the energy's just through the roof. And we're at about, 80, 90% of a normal year, which is pretty good in the current circumstances. But those 80, 90% are pumped up like 150%.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's more people here than a normal
Yeah.
year. It's just absolutely crazy. So let me throw an analogy out, and you guys can, if that's the right term, and you guys can correct me if I'm not picking a good one. But the way I think about working with both of you is Amplifier, and I want to talk a little bit about the science behind Amplifier.
Okay.
But Amplifier is a tremendous platform for driving knowledge acquisition. It's been proven. So let's talk a little bit about the science. So the way Amplifier came about was you guys have a scientific advisory committee, and I won't go into the patient history. People have to call us to get that. It's the backstory is amazing, but it takes just a minute. But you guys fast forward from the original patient situation, but you guys have a scientific advisory committee that figured out, hey, let's point functional MRIs at the human brain while we try and teach people stuff.
Yep.
And they knew from this exciting sort of thing that happened with this patient which parts of the brain are firing when memories form, and memory's learning. And that's what it is. Learning's creating memory and recall. And so they were able to point these functional MRIs at the human brain, test a bunch of different training techniques. And this was always my problem. Even though I was in and around training, that's not my education, it's not my background. I was kind of a heretic. People would say, well, this is what works. And I'd say, I don't think so. That's a theory. Correct. Prove it to me. And I sort of would get in trouble. But you guys actually measured, or your advisory committee actually looked at the human brain, identified what worked and didn't work. And there are about 25 things that work.
Correct, yep.
Give or take, and you're learning new ones along the way. And some of it's stuff that we might have instinctually done over the years, delayed feedback, burst learning, some of these kinds of things, and some weren't. But that formed the basis of a platform that you can create. There's a statistic, I don't know it off the top of my head, but how much you accelerate uptake of new knowledge and how much you accelerate. One of the problems, of course, is not just getting the knowledge, but then you have this drop-off, this forgetting curve. Throw some stats at me. There's some numbers out there that you know that I don't about how Amplifier can, and using these techniques that are proven, can affect that.
You know, where we really focus these techniques on is the long-term memory. I want to be able to easily recall it in a high-stakes situation. And in that high-stakes situation, if that learning hasn't stuck, it's not easy to recall. That's where confidently held misinformation comes in.
Right.
So you'll take a look at an amplifier uptake. We'll be 25 to 30% higher in terms of an uptake over traditional learning methodologies in about half the time.
Yep.
But more importantly, we have that forgetting curve. Over a period of time, you start to forget information. But those that have learned using amplifier and our brain triggers, learning triggers, they'll hold that information about 80% better than traditional learning methodologies 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road.
80% greater recall.
80% greater recall.
That's amazing.
So
That's amazing.
we're really focused on making sure that at that point of presence, at that point of instance, you can confidently and competently respond to that situation. Because again, everything that we touch, both with our partnership with AAMI and our Health Alliance, impacts patient outcome. And
Yeah.
sometimes that patient outcome can be death.
Yeah, very serious. So let me come back to the analogy, and then I want to segue from that into Ambify. So the analogy I've been using is a pilot. So I want and of course you guys are in aviation, you guys have done some stuff in aviation. So I want my pilot well trained. I want her to know all about how that plane works, all of the different systems. And if I wanted to get that knowledge into that person's head, amplifier is the best way to do that. Now, they've got that knowledge and they're in the cockpit and they're about to take off, or they're in the air and something scary happens. I want them to follow the procedure that is empowered by the knowledge they've acquired to the T. I want that procedure executed perfectly, and I'd like to be able to audit that procedure after the fact to make sure all the steps were followed, learn new best practices there. That's what you do.
Yeah. In fact, our true north is the Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande, which is amazingly 13 years old. It's applying aviation disciplines to healthcare. So if you look at what we do, we empower the clinicians and the technicians to actually create these interactive experiences.
Hands-free, voice
completely,
activated, so it can be used in any setting.
Any setting, so that it's at the elbow. So our Venn diagram is fantastic because we know there's a cognitive load in healthcare that's unbelievable.
Right.
So we create a cognitive net to provide that at the elbow support. So that's procedures, protocols. If I'm a nurse or a technician and I come in and I see an IV pump that I haven't seen before, I scan that and I've got my co-pilot. It's helping me step through the processes. And as you mentioned, Robert, every time I do that, I'm creating a micro black box.
Right.
Which is wonderful. So I can do analytics around how long they spend in any of these steps. Have they skipped things? Are they just looking at it for reference? So if there's a call out to an instruction to an IFU, the co-pilot will take you right to the page. Right to the page you need. Instead of flipping through 200 pages.
Yeah.
So
it's fantastic.
So the combo, getting that kind of training and then having that, cognitive net. Now we've got both ends of the spectrum, and we're really excited about the thought leadership of AAMI and your members applying this technology across medical devices.
When you guys are side by side here at the show in the AAMI Central, and I know our HTM audience has gone nuts, sort of as the light bulb has gone off about how both of you can work to support the various aspects of their training programs and their performance programs, and it's been exciting.
Yep.
So we're going to be very busy over the coming months. So I have to share with you, though, it just popped into my head. Remember the Reese's peanut butter cup commercial, the peanut butter and chocolate?
Yep.
I was just sitting here and it would not leave my head. I was looking at you two, and that thing came into my head, and I was like, peanut butter, chocolate, which one is which? But it's perfect.
Yep.
Dan picks which one. He was the first.
He was
so you
here
want to
first.
be
You got
chocolate or
you
peanut
want
butter?
to be chocolate or peanut butter?
I don't like peanut butter. I'm going to be chocolate.
All right, I love peanut
You're
butter. So
butter.
we're
and now they have all these variants. So we're like the Amy's the M&M crumbs or whatever, like mixed into the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it all works.
That sounds good.
Now I'm hungry. I don't get to eat much at these events.
No.
So
Yeah, you're the mechanism that keeps us all together.
there you go. I'm the package. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you're the
They throw
package.
away the package. Well, I guess neither outcome's good from the perspective of the candies.
Either
No,
can
it's not. No.
No, all right. We're going to leave that right there. So, guys, we are so appreciative of the partnership. You've been a great partner. You've been a great partner. We've been together less time, but we've already got success moving the needle on patient safety, on the safe and effective use of healthcare technology, which is our mission. And I know organizations like guys aren't always easy to work with, and you've been patient with us, and you've helped us, and you've guided us, and I'm just looking forward to the next several years of doing more and more in that, so thank you.
Me too. You've been a great partner.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All
All
right.
right, so now I'm going to
Thanks.
give you the boot.
I got the boot.
You've heard from the outside. I haven't figured out how to do this gracefully. Just like
Get out of here.
like a hook or something, or yeah. All right, get
And-
out.
right,
and
get
see
out.
you.
Get
All
out.
right, thank you.
Go tell some more people about this. Fantastic. All right, so now I'm here by myself. So Project Cure is getting gypped. People prefer it when my colleague is here. I apologize. Come on in. So nice to see you again. So nice to see you. Welcome. I'm sorry. Everything I do runs long. Hey, you're back.
I am.
I'm glad you're here.
You won't
How long do you get to stay?
I have like 5 minutes.
You have 5
Oh,
minutes?
goodness.
Okay. You can't whisper. We pick you up either
Oh,
way.
sorry.
So just say confidently, I have 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
All right. So we'll try and get this done in 5 minutes. But if you have to step out,
Okay, if I step, I
Go
might have
for
to
it.
step out. I'm not being rude. I'm not bored with what we're talking
I
about.
guarantee you, I've now missed 2 other meetings. So, but people understand that's how it goes.
We have the Gator Tank coming up, so
Oh,
I got to
you
go
have the
get ready
gator
for
tank.
that.
Oh, you
yeah.
have to do that. You
Yeah.
absolutely have to do that. All right. So, hello.
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 So Project Cure. So I was walking around the expo floor out here the other day,
Yeah.
and I met you, and you shared the story of Project Cure with us.
Yes.
And I said, we have to tell the world about this. You guys are doing really good work. It's
Yeah.
in alignment with the AMI mission. Come on
Yes,
board.
and I love
So-
Project Cure. Just to say, when I was out at CabMet a few years ago, my table was next to you,
Yes.
right? We sat
Well,
next
yeah,
to each
wait a
other
minute.
at the CabMet table.
I thought I'd made a discovery, but
Yeah.
it turns out I was late to the game. You already knew about all this.
I did.
Can you give me something every once in a
I
while?
did.
Can I win?
She was my booth neighbor. We became good friends in Colorado.
Fine, fine.
did.
All right. So tell the folks who you are.
We did. Thanks for having us today. We're thrilled to be here. So I'm Janet Thomason. I'm the Director of National Procurement for Project Cure, and thrilled to be here at AMI. I think this is my 3rd, possibly my 4th AMI conference, and
Okay.
we love the support that we've gotten from AMI and the memberships. Project Cure ensures that healthcare providers in the developing or low-resourced world have the tools that they need to take care of their communities. We let them diagnose and treat based on the equipment that they get from us, equipment and supplies. And we get those equipment and supplies from many of the AMI partners. We acquire things from manufacturers, from hospital systems, from individual hospitals, from physicians' offices, and we amass all those inventories in our 7 distribution centers across the U.S. and make sure that our volunteers, the 39,000 of them that are out there, pack those things up and get them ready.
Oh, fantastic!
think
Now
it's
let's
so-
wait. Let's pull our vote because we have a volunteer here. Come on, and get it right up on the mic so we can
here I
hear
am.
you.
Hello.
So tell us who you are.
My name's Gabrielle Massoud. I'm a volunteer at Project Cure, which I'm having a great time. It's a lot of fun. Everybody there is very, very nice, and
Fantastic.
working very hard to try to help the world, serve.
And how long have you been with Project Cure?
I think I started at the beginning of this year.
Okay, about a year then.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
well, 6 months or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And you're one of how many did you say?
39,500.
That's a lot of
Isn't it
people.
amazing? I was blown away when she was telling me all about
That's
it.
a
what,
lot of
and,
people.
And what I learned at CabMet, which is the Colorado
Yeah, oh,
Association
yeah,
for
yeah.
Biomedical Technicians,
Yeah.
that they actually partner with Project Cure in Colorado, and they volunteer their time at one of your warehouses or facilities.
Right, at our distribution center in Centennial, Colorado. And we have centers in Tempe, Arizona, in Chicago, in Denver, in Kansas City, in Houston, close by here,
There you go.
and outside of Philadelphia at our Mid-Atlantic, and in Nashville. We love our HTM groups. We're so reliant on them. We love the guys in Houston who come to us. CadMet has been a longtime supporter there in Colorado. These guys come in and donate their time to come and repair the equipment that's come out of their
to make
facilities.
sure that it's functional before
They
it's
ship it.
delivered to that region that is in need. Because I've heard that's a problem, that there have been programs that ship a lot of equipment to these places that's not in serviceable shape, and they don't necessarily have the expertise in those regions to get that equipment into serviceable shape. So you're providing sort of equipment that's ready to deploy.
Ready to go, and that's so important. A long-time pillar at Project Cure has been we will not send anything to a country where we haven't personally gone in and assessed. And of
Okay.
course, during COVID, we had to go to a virtual assessment.
Right,
But
right.
we are back in person, and we're going to send them only what they need. So if I go in and I say, Gabby, what's going on here in Nigeria, and tell me what your problems are, we're going to tailor the equipment to fit that need. And about 30 or 40% of every cargo container is going to be the equipment that enables them to build their bench strength, to provide better care, to do more surgeries, to get more healthy mommies, etc. And we can't do that without the HTM community supporting us and helping us ensure that all this stuff is in working order.
And so of the 39,000 volunteers, are most of them they can't all be biomed technicians, and et cetera.
No.
So who are the other volunteers?
The other volunteers do so much of what goes on our other 70% of the containers. They are sorting, they are picking up, they are counting and boxing and
So
warehousing.
you could even put me to work
Anybody.
if I showed up.
Anybody,
Okay,
even you.
So this is
Even
for
you
everybody.
could be helpful,
Even I
Robert.
could be helpful. If there's a video camera somewhere, I'll document
yes.
it. It'll be good.
We
It'll be
love
good.
the people who
That's
tell
fantastic.
our story, because that is, you know, we so long have been a too well kept secret, not
Mm-hmm.
intentionally, but as an organization that operates on a 2.9% overhead, there's not a lot of budget for the
good.
bells and whistles. And we need people to tell the story. We need to get to these AMI members, to the biomed techs, and say, you can help us in several ways. One is ensure who at your facility is able to donate equipment, who's responsible for asset disposition,
Okay.
and get it to come our way. Then, are you in an area where you can come serve at one of those 7 facilities and use your technical support? And for those people with lots of experience, how about on that bucket list that you travel with us after we send a container in country
Oh, wow.
and teach and train? And those
What
are
an
Isn't that cool?
opportunity.
Isn't that
That's
super
amazing.
cool?
That's
But
really
what's so
amazing.
great about it is there's whatever time commitment you have, there's a spot for them. Like, you may not be able to have the time to travel to Nigeria, but you could go to the warehouse for a couple hours and help them test
Right,
equipment or help
right.
them sort a box. Like, it doesn't matter. And, you know, I also just wanted to pitch for you too. Like, you know, don't throw your equipment away. Like, there's people
Well,
in
no,
countries
that's not
that need it.
sustainable anyway.
You know,
I mean, that's
so
terrible. Yeah.
but, you know, some people don't think about, you know, Project Cure, or when they dispose of equipment, they may sell it off for a little bit of money that may not really be worth it to the hospital either.
could have a
you know,
greater
versus
impact and-
have a
yeah.
greater impact donating it.
So tell us about your volunteer activities. What do you
Well,
do?
actually, I started as an intern, so I actually got some college credit for it
Okay.
in the beginning, and I did those hours, which I had to do as an intern through the program, and it gave me the ability to work on all kinds of different types of equipment, which I don't think I would have been able to do in other areas and other places. And so after I got done with my internship hours, I decided I would just continue, because I think everybody should serve. I mean, that should be a part of our life. We're here in this wonderful country, and we've got so much to give.
Amen.
And yes.
Yeah.
And so
you're a new biomed.
I am. I will
So-
sit for the exam in December. So yes, I
Fantastic.
For the
shall be.
Fantastic.
CBET or for the CABC? Which one?
For the BMET.
Nice.
Is that
There
right?
you go.
Is that right?
There
yes.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's my
so
second career kind
exciting.
of thing.
Oh
Yeah,
my
so
gosh.
career switch.
So
I mean,
how-
that's-
Career switch.
So where did you go to school? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I went to A&M for undergraduate, and
Yep.
then I worked for 25
Go
years.
Aggies, Giggle Maggies.
Yeah, and then
There
I
you go.
went to University of Houston and got my master's, and now I'm at San Jacinto getting my certificate.
Good for you.
So, yeah.
That's
yeah,
really
and actively
exciting.
pursued the field, found career change, and
Yeah,
found
yeah,
the
it's a
field and was
second
fascinated
career,
by
you
it.
know.
And I
There's-
think that's
You
fantastic.
were so inspiring. We'll reach out to you because you'd be great in our IMHTM campaign.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we're going to get you pulled into Amy
Yes,
now.
there
You're
you
going to
go.
be
Now-
doing.
now
you
you're
heard-
a part of our
You heard how
circle.
hard we work Herman McKinsey. The guy can't
Yes.
get a break. So now it's going to be your turn. So let's put a exclamation point on this for people. Folks can, as you said, volunteer their time at the facilities that you have around the country. They can. Somebody like me can lift boxes and move boxes and do all those kinds of things. They can go in country and support deployment and training and all those kinds of things. And that all starts where? It's your website? Is
That
there
all
a phone
starts at our
number?
website.
How do we get people to you?
www.projectcure.org is a great place to start. And again, I can't emphasize enough that we have to build these containers. To build the bench strength starts with equipment. So keeping equipment in working condition, helping us get it that way if it's not that way, getting that to be the structure of all these cargo containers. We should not hear stories where babies are dying because there isn't an incubator to be had.
No.
We can fix that problem with the surplus that's in this country. We can be responsible, and we can change the world. Whether it's one person sorting a box, whether it's someone lending their talent. We just love having Gabby, and the strength of San Jacinto has supported us, of all the cabinets and the organizations that come in and support us. We couldn't do it without you. We are an organization that thrives on volunteers and thrives on the generosity of donors. So everything that comes our way, we truly appreciate on behalf of all the people we're serving. We've been in a position just recently with Ukraine. We've sent over 750 pallets of aid to Ukraine,
Fantastic.
Wow.
including a full cargo plane and cargo ships and plane loads still ongoing. If we didn't have the people supporting us and making us ready in those warehouses, we could not deal with emergencies. But other than emergencies, people have babies,
It's a
people have
need all the
appendicitis
time.
all the
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm so glad that you guys agreed to
Yes.
join us. What a great way. This is the end of our live stream. You're the
Yay.
big finish,
What a
and I
great
can't think of a
grand finale,
better way. So
with
say the website again.
philanthropy.
www.projectcure.org. Across the country, whether you're in Arizona, whether you're in Chicago, Denver, Kansas City, Houston, Philadelphia, or Nashville, we would love to see you. And if you're outside that area, that doesn't preclude you from finding a way to participate with us at Project Cure.
There you go.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to say, everybody's so nice there. It's somewhere you can meet people, you can meet friends, you can socialize and be supported.
That's fantastic. When you mentioned, I hadn't even thought of it. It was a chance to work on all kinds of equipment
Yeah.
early in your
Yeah,
career.
yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the challenges. So, thank you both so much.
Thank
Thank you
you
for
for letting
being
us
here,
be
and thanks
here.
for all you do.
Thanks.
We really, I
guys.
hope the expo's been fantastic for you, and we'll see you next time as well.
It's been great, and we've even had, our newest facility is Kansas City, and we're really working on that education component in Kansas
Fantastic.
City with them as well. So thanks for
Perfect.
being part of that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right.
Appreciate
You
it,
have a
guys.
gator tank to go to.
I do.
Normally, I
Yes.
make everyone else leave. Let's all leave.
Okay,
Let's all-
perfect.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Wow,
Really appreciate it.
Experience.
And thanks for making the drive in.
Thank you. Yeah, I was coming anyway.
Oh, okay.
the. Thank you very much.